go. Let me start sharing. Well, welcome, May. I'm Jordan, and people are on YouTube to coaching as a leadership style. So, although this was first of all advertised as coaching in UIP, I wanted to really specify on this of what we're going to have a look at is this very specific leadership style that we call coaching. It's a specific method that's applied to many, many different domains, and we're going to have a look how we can apply it as a leadership style, and in particular inside UIP. What this isn't, once again, this isn't a 101 in exactly how to become a coach. For something like that, that would take us a lot more time, a lot more face-to-face activities, etc. But this is meant to just spark your interest and understand what is coaching about and what is its value if I want to learn it inside UIP. So we can think of a whole bunch of different leadership styles that are out there. For example, here we have angry boss, you know, that classic leader who just kind of shouts at everyone, and people do what they need to do out of fear because they say to themselves, okay, if I don't meet this deadline, this is going to be bad. So I really need to be motivated to do that. And yes, sometimes you can achieve great outcomes through this kind of fear. Not exactly leadership style I would personally go for, but that is a leadership style. Another one just across is kind of like hanging this carrot over to someone, kind of motivating them towards saying, this is a goal, this is something you can achieve. And through those kind of incentives, allowing that person to achieve what they want. Another leadership style just below could be role modeling, could be setting out that pathway to say, this is our direction where we're going. I can like lead the way for us and we can follow. And I put one picture there of Ed Sheeran trying to sell all his own records, because sometimes we can also think of this kind of leader who just does everything themselves. They don't really have much trust or anything in their team. They're like, okay, I know I can get it done by myself because I can trust myself, so I will do it. So we can think of different leaders we've worked with. There's a whole bunch of different styles out there. But what we're going to have a look at is in particular coaching. Now, to understand coaching, we need to first think about, okay, what do we actually mean by leadership if I want to say coaching as a leadership style? Well, first of all, here we picked out a few different styles. And by leadership, what we're going to use as our kind of definition is it's going to be some kind of process of influence. So I could influence a particular individual or group. And in this case, we're going to focus mainly on a group setting. So it's a whole process. So there's many different steps. It's not just a one-time thing. It's a whole process itself within a specific group setting. So in this case, it could be your committee, it could be your orga team, your media team, it could be your leadership team, it could be whichever kind of group you have there. And it's specifically to attain a goal. So you're aiming towards something and you're going to be doing certain actions to help influence this group to achieve this specific goal. For us, that's what we're going to look at as leadership. And then in particular, we're now going to try to understand what is this coaching thing and how does it fit in this? How is the coaching method your process of influence to achieve specific goals within these group settings? If I want to think about coaching, I could compare it to two other methods. One of them is consultant and the other one is mentor. So at this time, before we move forward, even if you're watching on YouTube or if you're here in the webinar, I'd like you to take just 1 minute and just jot down some notes or think some ideas in your mind. What is the difference between a consultant, a mentor, and a coach? What kind of things would a consultant do? What kind of things would a mentor do? And what kind of things would a coach do? So just take a minute or two to think about that. So in a bit, I'm going to be asking Miriam for quite a lot of role play in a bit. So before we go to that, Jordan, would you be able to tell us just a little bit about what for you a consultant means? When you hear the word consultant, what comes into your mind?
Yeah, for me, a consultant's more about someone that you ask directly for a specific thing, and they give you advice just based on that that event that you're currently dealing with.
Perfect. Exactly. So there's this kind of two ideas. One idea of very specificity. I give very, very specific requests, and they're going to make sure those requests are done. And that second idea of they can be very exact and heavy on their advice. It's not just giving me a couple of, oh, these are some nice recommendations. It's no, this is exactly what you need to do. I am an expert in this field, and this is exactly what you should be doing. So the idea of the consultant is they are that expert. They know exactly how to do whatever you want to do. They've already done it many times before, and they are going to find the right way for you to do it. So the focus here is very much on that end result. Product, product, product. I need to make sure this is good, and I have the knowledge, I have the expertise to make sure it is this way. Many leaders function this way as well. They've been there, they've done it, they know exactly how to do it, and they can trust themselves that they know how to do it this way. So because of that, they may tell their team very, very specifically what they would like to be done. And so some leaders can almost work kind of like these consultants. If we move over to mentor, either Jordan or Miriam, what things come to your mind when you think about mentor?
I think mentor is more of someone who's going to help you over a longer period of time and gives you a bit more guidance, but also you can be autonomous and work on it in order to develop yourself, and it's, I think, less product orientated.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So there's this idea, not just that it's a one-time, very small, quick thing, let's get this done, but it's more of a longer process. I can work with a mentor for a longer period of time. Yes, they can have expertise. Yes, they can give me advice. But like you said, at the same time, I could remain somewhat autonomous. I am being guided, not told what to do. So within that kind of mentor approach, that could be something a lot closer to what we used to see inside UIP. And what we're going to focus on is understanding this third approach, what we call coaching approach. If we think of this as a consultant is, I am complete expert, I know what to do, I will either get it done or I will tell you step by step how to do it. Mentor has expertise, but is more there to guide you, is more in this kind of long-term focus. Yes, they achieve a great product, but they're not just focused on that product. They're also focused on you and your process towards it. They will give you advice and nice guidance to get there. With a coach, it's going to be an even further level in which the coach isn't going to give you any advice. The coach doesn't necessarily have to have the expertise in the field, but can still help you achieve those same outcomes. And how the coach would tend to work is the coach trusts you. If you think about that consultant, we said the consultant probably has no trust in the other people doing these activities because they know they have these expertise. The mentor combines a bit more trust. They can allow you to be a bit more autonomous, but through their guidance, through their advice. Now, the coach is going to work with 100% trust. I trust that you by yourself can come up with much, much better ways, better ideas than I could ever tell you. You have more information about your circumstances, about exactly what's going on, and about the consequences if we came up with an idea. So everything we think about is going to come from you. And so coaching is going to be a whole bunch of techniques put together to allow this kind of process to happen. The full trusting, the full empowerment, and to make sure this person can be autonomous, not guided through advice, but only guided in a process that gives them the space to think. So when we think about our consultant, mentor, and coach, if we're thinking about this follower, so one person is a consultant, mentor, or coach, and the other person is the person receiving. And in this case, we tend to call them a follower. We talk about leader-follower relationship. If I think about follower empowerment and follower development, well, the further I stretch to the right here, is the better it's going to be. So if I think about empowerment or development, working with a consultant, there's not really empowerment. They don't trust me. There's no development. I guess I could just watch what they're doing and maybe learn to try to do it the next time, but probably won't work. If I think about a mentor, there's a bit more empowerment because part of the time I can be autonomous. They're helping guide me to the answer, but I still get the answer. And development, I get to take from their expertise, but at the same time mix it with my way of working. So that's really cool. When we go to a coach, now there we're talking pure empowerment. Imagine having a conversation with somebody who, even if they do or not have expertise in that field, they are waiting for 100% of the ideas and the discussion to come from yourself because they trust that that is where it's going to be best. The amount of development that you are going to get out of it is going to be fundamental as well. Within teaching, one motto that I always like to hold to heart is that you can never teach somebody something, you just allow them to realize they already knew it. So the idea is that a whole bunch of us, we want to learn new things, but this knowledge isn't external. It's not an external piece of knowledge that gets pushed into my mind. Instead, it's something that already exists inside here. And then the teacher or the trainer is just somebody who allows them to make these connections and then allows them to continue with this knowledge in the future. Now, the further right we push on the scale, the closer to that we are going to get. So to bring this to some more examples to a better understanding of exactly what are we talking about, with Miriam, I'm going to put you on the spot now, we're going to do some role play. So with this role play, let's imagine our first scenario. Our first scenario is I am a chairperson and you're a delegate. You're currently looking into phrasing for the resolution. What we're going to do is you're going to do it the first time, and I'm going to either be a consultant, a mentor, or a coach. And what I like to do is then open up to Jordan to say which one do you think I was and the reasons why. So Claudio, Miriam.
Okay, Nathan. So I think, could you please tell me whether this OC sounds okay? We recommend the European Commission to launch media campaigns to raise awareness on the issue of, let's say, gender empowerment.
Okay.
Do you think it sounds good? Do you think we should keep it in the resolution?
Yeah, that sounds really, really good. And I think you can definitely add a little bit more onto it. Like earlier on, I was listening to you, and you guys had a really great conversation around exactly what you want to do in terms of raising awareness. So maybe if you had, I don't know, 2 or 3 points below that precised it further, what kind of points do you think would be cool?
Maybe if we mention precisely the time frame by when we want to make it happen.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think I definitely agree. In the past, I know that with myself, whenever I do mention timeframes, it does allow people to really know that what I'm talking about is very precise and we can work with that. Okay, that's perfect. So Jordan, with that, do you think I was being more of a consultant, a mentor, or a coach? And what would be your reasons why?
I think you were being more like a mentor because right at the end, you were giving examples of where you've used it before, but you were still being very nice to Mariam and not wanting her to change much. You wanted to work on it by herself and not completely change it to something that fits you.
100%. Yeah, you're definitely right there. Because on the one hand, yes, I was kind of giving some advice. I was pointing out where I've used it in the past, my expertise. I was also saying, you could add a little bit more to that 1-2 points, something like this. But you're right, I didn't give her the answer. I allowed the answer to still come from her, but then I guided her towards that, making that change. If we think about, let's do one more example of the same one. So if you come up with another random phrase, Miriam, let's have the same conversation.
Okay. Nathan, we are running out of time and we cannot come up with any OCs, any more OCs. We are really panicking. What should we do? We don't know. We're stuck.
Cool. You're definitely right. You know, the time is ticking. Earlier on, you guys were having a really great conversation about the need for that media campaign around gender equality. So how about something like this? Taken from what you said in your conversation, you could probably write, we recommend whatever EU institution to continue their current awareness campaign that they've done on gender equality, but then further promote it to countries which currently aren't undergoing the campaign. Does that sound good?
Sure. Yes. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Cool. And so Jordan, what about that one?
That was you being a consultant, seeing as you gave her a specific phrase and you used what they did in advance to make a very specific OC based on their discussions.
Exactly. And well, with these two examples, it's definitely examples that we've had in the past. The amount of times we've had maybe chairpersons actually suggest that phrasing, and we don't see that as a negative thing. It's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just saying that, okay, from what you've discussed, this is probably a good idea. Cool, they can work with it. That mentor approach said, you guys have been working on something, and here's a little bit of guidance to the right direction. And now we have this conversation a third time in which I'll take the coaching approach. So something that you've already phrased, Miriam, if you kind of go back to kind of like the first example and ask me a question.
Okay, so Nathan, we are not sure what to include anymore in the resolution. There is this OC we have on raising awareness with media campaigns. Do you think it's good? Should we keep it?
What do you think?
I personally think that it is a little bit too perhaps too general and too vague for us, but since we don't really have time to come up with the quality research and some quality ideas, that's the first thing that falls on our minds right now.
Mm-hmm. And so you say you don't have too much time. How much time do you currently have?
So while we have 40 minutes left until the end, so not that much time to come up with something new.
Okay, so during these 40 minutes, how would you like to spend your time to be able to make it less vague, as you were saying before?
Well, I guess we would have to somehow work on brainstorming new ideas because we are obviously stuck, and we need to use this time in a way so that we can utilize it to find something more specific.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, that sounds cool. Let's do that then. So then in this example, how this one changes from what we talked about with the mentor approach or the consultant approach is that I never came up with any advice. I never suggested anything. Instead, the whole time, Miriam was leading that conversation. She said, do you think this is okay? If somebody asks you, is this okay? They're probably saying, I don't think this is okay. So in that case, I just asked her, well, what do you think? In a very neutral way. And she was able to raise exactly what her concerns were. And from those concerns, she told me what the issue was, is that it's vague, but they don't have much time. So I just asked, well, how much time do you have? And she told me how much time. So I said, okay, how are you going to use that time to make it less vague? I didn't give anything. I just kept repeating whatever she said. And that gave her the space and the ability to work the way she needed to. Because in my position, if I think about what is wrong with the clause, it may be different to what Marianne believes is wrong with the clause. And if I start to give her advice on what I believe is right, maybe it won't work as well because I don't have the full knowledge of what Marianne has in her situation. So if we move on to another example, Joel, just checking, are you on the call with us at the moment? And do you have the ability to to chip in one of our discussions. No problem. Oh, yeah. Did I hear something? No, no problem. So here, what we do with Miriam is we're just going to switch roles. So in this case, let's focus more on the kind of coaching approaches, just to show those watching how this kind of coaching approach could look like. But let's actually do two examples. So first, Miriam, I'd like you to jump more into the mentor approach. Let's just quickly check we have chat. Okay, no problem. Oops. But one second. Okay, so first of all, let's do the mentor approach and then move over to coach. So in this scenario, Miriam, you're a vice president and I'm a chairperson, and I'm having a particular issue with my committee, and I'm going to ask you a bit of advice. So for this first example, I'd love you to take more of a mentor approach, and then we'll do it again, but afterwards in the coaching. Cool. Hey, Miriam. So we're almost towards the end of our first day of team building, and I feel like the team's coming together, but there's just one individual that I'm not too sure on, and I'm just really lost on. I don't know what to do. Oh, your microphone.
Yes. So could you elaborate on what exactly is bothering you about this individual?
Well, I feel like everyone else is really bonding, and everything we've done in team building has been going really amazing, but it's just this one individual that whenever the group's together, they're not always, let's say, with the group. I haven't really heard them either talk or communicate with the others too much, and I don't know, that they're on their phone quite a lot during the day.
Have you tried doing anything to stop them from using their phones and to kind of initiate bonding, or you just let it go with the flow?
I haven't really been taking the phone away from them because I don't know. I feel like it's almost a bit too imposing.
Well, maybe in that case, it would be better to point their attention to the fact that using the phones is really destructive, and perhaps you could do a couple of bonding games with them so that they can, maybe do some speed dating or some other getting to know games so that the other person can feel a little bit more bonded with them. How about you take a look at the 35 questions to fall in love, and then you can just do a quick speed dating, perhaps with just a couple of these questions, and make this person more interested in the group.
Okay, yeah. Oh, we tried speed dating earlier. Didn't really work that well, but yeah, I can definitely try the 35 questions. Thanks.
Do you think there is anything else that is bothering you that I could try help you with?
That's fine. Perfect. Thanks so much, Miriam. So for that first example, one thing I'd love to highlight here is that it was kind of difficult sometimes there for Miriam to exactly pinpoint what advice to give, because when she said, okay, what about taking the phone away from them? It's difficult to know whether that's going to be good or not, because, well, I'm the one who knows my relationship with the committee and how I work that way. And maybe for certain chairpersons, yes, it's cool. Like the way that they work, it's very easy for them to do that. But then for other chairpersons, it may not work as well. Or let's say the type of games, what I've tried before, what I haven't tried, I'm the only person with all that information. So each time Miriam was giving me really, really great advice, but it wasn't necessarily always catered for what I needed. So let's just, we'll take the same scenario and let's switch this around. And if Miriam, if you become a coach. So Miriam, we're towards the end of the first day of team building. We've been doing really well throughout the day, like so many really great games bonding everyone, but there's just one person I don't feel I've managed to bond with the rest of the team. I'm just not sure what's happening. Do you think you could help me?
Okay, let's try. Can you give me examples of the things, for example, that you have done so far? So what kind of activities have you done, and in which way do you think it shows that the person isn't bonding with the rest of the team?
Okay, so So if I think about one example, we're doing the human knot, and like with human knot, everyone getting involved in or something like that. And I guess this person each time they would just kind of like they were like maybe distancing their body a bit more from the others and just waiting there and didn't do anything unless the others kind of said, oh yeah, you need to do this. And then they would do that one quick thing and nothing else. So it's like the whole team's doing the activity and they're just being that passive thing.
So what do you think is happening with them? Could you describe their emotions more and like their emotional state? Are they bored? Are they tired? Could you elaborate on that, please?
So I guess if I think about the group, the most of the team, most of them are quite engaged. They're having fun. They're feeling excited when they're working together. They're curious to discover each other more. And maybe actually saying that, maybe with this one delegate, that there's this element of awkwardness. Of I'm not sure whether I should be able to trust or I should be able to do this. I guess I don't feel like there's this, oh, I reject the group, but it's more I don't want to take a first step. So yeah, maybe there's this element of awkwardness.
Okay, so if this is the element of just awkwardness, what are the ways do you think that can ease up this awkwardness, or in which way do you think it would make this person feel a little bit more comfortable in the team?
Maybe it's because I've been pushing through too fast, too quick. Yeah, maybe it could be something like that, where I've been just trying to like build them together really fast, really hoping that happens. And maybe it's not at this person's pace. So maybe I can just try to slow it down a bit. Maybe have some one-on-one, just human interactions where it's not all about games, let's do this, but just allow it to happen more naturally with this person.
Okay, perfect. So learning from this, what would you say would be your further steps now?
So my next steps would be, so that tomorrow I planned like 2 very structured activities. I'll probably unstructure one of them a bit more and make sure they are having their coffee breaks properly, and just make sure I'm connecting with a lot of my delegates one-on-one, and specifically this person, but just on the human level.
Do you think there is anything you need to pre-plan or prepare to make this happen? Something in advance?
I think I think you're right. One of the games, so the one that I want to unstructure, I have to maybe kind of plan exactly how I'm going to do that. So I think what I like to do is I like to unstructure it, work it that way, and then have a chat with you to get back to see if that's a cool thing. That sound cool?
Sounds great. Is there anything else I can help you with?
That's perfect. Thanks so much for the help.
You're welcome.
Cool. So there, in my case, I felt like I had so much space to think that I could just work through this problem, think about different things, because I didn't feel that it was Miriam giving me advice and me having to judge yes or no. It was more Miriam opening up different boxes and saying, maybe you can think about this. What about this aspect? What about this aspect? And then there's space for me to be able to do all of those elements. So that worked really, really well. So that's the big difference between the coach and a mentor, is in EYP, we tend to very much take this mentor approach of, I'm going to guide you on the right path, but then it's still your work. Whereas the coaching approach says, you're on your path, you need space, and you need the ability to reflect. And so I'm just going to provide you with tools and space. That's it. And I trust you. With a coach, after you have a conversation with them, you always kind of thank them saying, you gave me all these ideas. But then the coach is like, no, I didn't give you anything. You had them yourself. So if I think about this just as one more example to throw out there, so I think we've done quite a lot of role play at the moment. So just to kind of throw out there with another example is, if I think about, let's say, an organizer with a coffee break. Well, from the consultant perspective, someone from the core team or a head organizer could say, cool, I'd like you to do this coffee break at this time for this because of X, Y, Z. Cool. A mentor could say, so have you prepared the coffee break? No? Cool, how did we prepare the coffee break yesterday? Yeah, could you also prepare it today? How can I help you with this? And then have like more of an engaging dialogue around this coffee break to make sure it's done. So they're guiding them towards making sure it's right, but they're not giving them all the answers. They may give them some advice now and then, say, cool, that sounds really cool, but just to bear in mind that we don't have all of the kind of plugs or electricity that we need there, so that kettle isn't going to do much. It could be that kind of conversation. But then from the coaching approach, it could say, cool, so you're in charge of coffee breaks, so how's the day looking so far? Oh, cool, so you talked about that particular coffee break. What's the plan? Awesome. Could there be anything that happens that makes that plan no longer work? Like what could be last minute things that happened? Yeah, you're right. That delegates could be late. That's a perfect. So if delegates are late, what's the plan? Cool. Oh yeah, you're definitely right. The electricity side. What do you need that uses electricity? Cool. And how can we make that work? Perfect. It's like that kind of conversation. It's just asking these questions and giving them space to think. Because if I'm leading a large team, each one of them has way more access to their specific information than I personally can from everything that they want to do. That's one very specific reason why this coaching approach can be so helpful. Another way is because we talked about empowerment and development. If we think about what EYP stands for, EYP is all about empowering individuals and allowing them to develop. How do you know how they want to develop? By providing them space, opportunity, and working with them through this more coaching approach, you're going to allow them to develop the way that they're looking for this. So a lot of what we talked about here is coaching tends to mainly be about listening. It's just I'm receiving information. And the more I empower the other person by listening, the more they actually have space to think and to develop and to discuss and to work through their ideas and find their solutions themselves. So your journey towards coaching is mainly a journey towards improving listening skills. And finally, if we think about trying to fit every single person in the same box, this is my piece of advice. We have that saying of, like, was it like a sock doesn't fit everyone the same way or something like this? You can kind of think of it in this EYP Armenia picture of, if I have a box, not everyone's going to fit in it in the same way. So if I have a piece of advice I want to give to somebody, just because it worked for me doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for them. So the coaching approach is an ability, it's a different technique that allows you to tailor what's happening or to do with the participant in front of you. So our whole discussion today has not been around exactly how do I coach somebody. We haven't seen about listening techniques. We haven't looked at body language. We haven't looked at the type of questions we ask. We haven't looked at any of these. Instead, we've just been trying to understand what is coaching, comparing it to what we normally do in EYP, which is more mentoring/consulting, and trying to understand what are going to be some of the benefits if you want to move more to this coaching approach. So if you do want to move to that coaching approach, your leadership team here in Yerevan 2019, we are all fanatics around coaching. We're all either reading up on it or have taken previous trainings. It's something that's quite close to all of our hearts. So if this is something you would like to learn more about, let us know and we can help you go down that journey as well. If you're not coming to the session, we within EYP, we do have some online resources. For example, I have put together, I think, 5 or 6 online modules to kind of teach certain elements of coaching. So just get in touch with us to ask us about that, and we can definitely send those resources your way. There's some incredible books out there, and there's some amazing workshops and lots of different ways to learn about it. So I hope you've liked your sneak peek into this coaching technique, and I hope you've learned how we can use it in EYP. And with that, I'll hand back over to Mariam.